Now, recently we've seen further evidence of the importance of the proceedings today. Last month, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change published their new assessment that showed that beyond doubt that since the 1950s, and I quote, "the atmosphere and oceans have warmed, the amounts of snow and ice have diminished, sea level has risen, and the concentrations of greenhouse gases have increased." The consequence of these changes is already being felt. The world is seeing more extreme weather events such as floods, droughts, cyclones. In the developed world, the effects of such events are deep disruption, increased inconvenience, and substantial economic cost. In the developing world, the effect is catastrophic. United Nations figures show that in the least developed countries there's been a five-fold increase since the 1970s in the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. Women are suffering disproportionately, since they are often the main providers of food, fuel, water. The most vulnerable are worst affected: the very young, the very old, the ill, and the very poor. The scale of the injustice is massive. The individuals, communities, and nations which are suffering most from climate change are those who have done least to cause it. Climate justice recognising this fact, it requires that the developed nations face up to their responsibilities. Now, Scotland was one of the pioneers of the Industrial Revolution. We inadvertently helped to create the problem of climate change. We have a duty to play our part in tackling it now. And we're well placed to do so. We have an internationally recognised expertise in renewable energy technology, a tradition of internationalism and of compassion. The Minister, Paul Wheelhouse, has just spoken about our Parliament's world-leading legislation on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, our work to decarbonise our energy production. Those are important actions, but we know that we also need to offer help and assistance now to nations which are already being affected by climate change. And that's why last year the Scottish Government established the world's first ever Climate Justice Fund worth £3 million. It focuses on water projects in Malawi and Zambia. And today I'm proud to announce to this conference that the Scottish Government will double the size of that fund. Now, of course, we recognise that fund is still small in relation to the global scale of the problem. It's tiny, infinitesimal in fact. But it makes a powerful statement. And the feedback we've received from our partners who are delivering our projects is the impact in some of the world's poorest communities has already been substantial. Scotland's actions are already attracting international attention. They've been welcomed by Desmond Tutu, Al Gore, among others, Dr. Pat Chorley, the chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. He has described them as a matter of pride. Now, I've spoken about climate justice at the Communist Party Central School in Beijing, and in Princeton University in the United States of America. And in each of these very different audiences, I found a great reception to the principle and idea of a climate justice fund. Scotland cannot address climate change on our own, but we can set an example, and we can help to build that international coalition of support for action. That's why I'm delighted that today's conference includes business leaders and civic society who will be essential to promoting climate justice. I also want to welcome in particular to representatives from the developing world who will testify to the effects that climate change is already having. And I'm especially pleased that we have the best possible person to give our keynote address, Mary Robinson, an inspirational figure whose foundation is recognised worldwide for its promotion of climate justice. When Mary spoke in Glasgow 2 years ago, she issued what she called a friendly challenge to government and civil society in Scotland to become champions of climate justice. We have accepted that challenge. With the help of Mary and everyone here today, I hope we can make an even bigger difference in the years to come.